Remember the backup goalie signing? How like a few years ago it was kind of like, oh, you got to spend a little more to get these guys are crazy important to these teams. Having that solid backup. I mean, it's just now
Well,
everyone's kind of like,
go in there with Eddie Lack now. That leads you to the
yeah, look
conversation
at
with the
that.
Calgary Flames. Mike Smith gets banged by Matthew Tkachuk last night in the
Hmm.
first period, leaves the game after the first, and Eddie Lack comes in, and he lives an entire season in the final 40 minutes of that game, going from booed to being chants of Eddie in the game, and picks up the win. But there's a guy who was on the scrap heap as well. Carolina is paying half his salary, and he's playing to stay in the National Hockey League, and Calgary is in this dilemma. We haven't heard yet on what
Well,
Mike Smith's prognosis is long term, but they're going out on a 6-game road trip starting tomorrow.
he did come back and was on the bench
Yeah.
for the rest of the game, so maybe that's a good sign. He is a battler. He got hit a few times last night, actually, but it just seemed like that Kachuk fell on him, and who knows what it was, if it was a shoulder or what it was. But I mean, Lack came in and was good, but like, how can you replace what Smith has been to the Flames? Like Lack's going to have to step up big time if he's unable to go, because if it's not for Mike Smith, who knows where this team's at right now early in the season.
It was the first coach's post-game press conference where I've heard the question posed to the coach with, did you think you were going, could the goaltender who came out have come back in if something would have happened to Eddie Lack, i.e. Mike Smith, or were you going to have to go down to Todd Ford, who's the emergency goaltender?
Yeah.
They actually asked that question last night, and Glenn Gulletson was like, I wasn't even thinking that right
Yeah.
now. But then he chimed in, I had Ford in the minors, so I know he's a good goalie, but they're that worried about Eddie Lack and his stability.
Like, we've talked about the backup goalie, like, how many times on this show? It's
Yeah,
the depth in goaltending.
I want to assume that if a player puts himself in a position to come back on the bench,
He'd be okay.
then he'd be okay.
Yeah.
Especially Mike Smith. You know, if you're a third or fourth liner and you're hurt and you like to talk it up on the bench, maybe you stick around and watch the game.
Yeah.
Colby and I know that
I
feeling.
would be there. I'd
right?
be like, hey, I want to stay here, stay in the lineup.
Oh, at least
be
get the
leaving.
pom-poms out
Yeah.
and try to do something.
Yeah.
But not Mike Smith. I would assume that if he put himself back on the bench,
So you're
he
not
could
as
go in
worried.
there. That
Yeah.
I'm not as worried as, say, the Carey Price.
Carey
That's
Price.
for sure.